All right, my DLO for today is I will solve formulas for given variables, and we're working in our packet on page 41. And we're actually going to just kind of set up some stuff today, and we'll solve maybe one or two problems, but then a majority of what you're going to be solving is going to be tomorrow in class. So most of it will be classwork. We're just going to kind of set up the basis for it tonight. So here's the equation, or the page, what it looks like. Up here at the top, they give you a bunch of different formulas, and then down here, numbers 1 through 8. They want you to match up each formula to the scenario that it's talking about. So if you haven't taken geometry yet, which obviously none of you guys have, or in this case math 2, some of these may look unfamiliar to you. Hopefully they're all ones that you've seen before, or hopefully they're ones that we can figure out together, but they might not be as familiar to you. We probably haven't seen them in a while. So that's why we're going to go through and set them up today. And then tomorrow you guys can go ahead and solve through like it asks you to for each one. The first one says the formula for the perimeter of a rectangle. So in my notes for number 1, I'm just going to write perimeter of a rectangle. And then I'm going to look up here at the top for maybe which formula I think aligns with perimeter of a rectangle. Now I know a rectangle has a base, I know it has a height, I know to find the perimeter you add together all the sides, so a base and a base and a height makes 2 bases and 2 heights. And perimeter starts with a P, and usually they try to keep the variables the same so they actually make sense, so perimeter starts with a P, so I'm looking for a P. And I only see 2 formulas up here actually that have a P. This one here and this one here. Now earlier we were talking about how a rectangle has a base and a height, but here I see a W and an L. So I think that maybe they're talking about it in terms of length and width. So I'm going to go ahead and say that that is my perimeter of a rectangle, because this one wouldn't make a lot of sense. I don't know what all those letters would have to do with the perimeter of a rectangle. So for perimeter of a rectangle, I'm going to say P equals 2W plus 2L. Alright, now for tonight, that's all we're going to do. So don't do anything else there, just kind of leave it like that, and we'll keep going. For the second one says the distance formula. So for part 2, distance formula. Alright, so for the distance formula, again, you might not know exactly which one that is. So distance, that's a D. I try to find which one has a D in it. We already used this one, so I'm going to cross this off. Alright, so which one of these has a D in it? Distance. Well, I only see one that has a D, and that's right here. So distance equals RT. And R stands for rate, and T stands for time. So the distance formula is D equals RT. For number 3, the temperature formula. Well, temperature, that starts with T. Let me cross this one off since we already did that one. Temperature. Do you see any up here that have a temperature, T? Me neither. I don't see any that have a T. So let's see. Let's think about what else temperature has to do with. It says it has an F in it, because here it says solve for F. So which one of these up here do you see that have an F in it? Oh, here's one that has an F in it, and it's actually the only one up here that has an F. So I wonder what the C and the F stand for. Well, if I think about temperature, I know that we take temperature in Fahrenheit, but then in the rest of the world they take temperature in Celsius. So that must be what the F and the C stand for. So C equals 5/9 times F minus 32. That's the temperature formula. Let's look at 4. The formula for the area of a triangle. Alright, area of a triangle, okay. So let me cross off my temperature formula, let me use that one. So for the area of a triangle, area, that starts with A. I know that it has a B in it because it says solve for B. So here's an A and it has a B in it, and here's an A that has a B in it, and also here's an A that has a B in it. So we need to decide between these 3, which one of these is the formula for the area of a triangle. Now you might remember back to your earlier math days, because we have learned this before in a math class, but base times height, that sounds more like the area of a rectangle or a square. This one up here, it has to have a height and a base 1 plus base 2. Well, a triangle only has one base, so it couldn't be that one. There's no 2 bases. So it must be this one, 1/2 base times height. And so it couldn't be this one up here, and it couldn't be this one down here, because that looks more like the area of a rectangle. This one looks more like the area of something else. So it must be this one. Area equals, oops, let's make that a better A. Area equals 1/2 base times height. And I'm going to cross this one off. All right, number 5. Number 5 wants to know the formula for simple interest. Simple interest. And I know it has an R in it, all right? So I'm looking up here for simple interest, and I know it has an R in it. Well, interest starts with I, so are there any up here that have an R and an I in them? This one right here has an I and an R. And you might not know what these stand for, but P stands for principal, or the amount of money you put into the bank account. R stands for the rate, or how much you're earning, and T stands for the time, how long you've left the money in the bank. So for simple interest, I equals principal times rate times time. And we've used that one now. All right, number 6, we're almost done. The area of a circle. Area of a circle. Well, again, I know it has an area, so I'm looking for A. But a circle, here's an A, here's an A, and here's an A. A circle doesn't have a base or a height, so I don't see us using these ones that have B's and H's in them. But I know that a circle does have to do with R, which is a radius, and I know it has to do with pi. And if you look here, actually right here, it says area of a circle, we have to have R in it. So we're going to use this one, which is A equals pi R squared. Area equals pi R squared. Let me move this up so you guys can see it a little better. All right, we got 2 left, so let me cross that one off. We got 2 left, but we got more than 2 equations, so we're obviously not going to use some of them. This next one says the formula for the circumference of a circle. So again, we're talking about circles again. It says solve for R. Circumference of circle. Well, I know circumference starts with a C, and I know that it says solve for R, so my formula has to have an R in it, and the only ones I see with a C and R are right here. C equals 2 pi R. So let's write that one down. And last but not least, the last one they're looking for is the formula for the area of a trapezoid. An area, again, starts with A, so I'm guessing we're going to be looking for an A. In a trapezoid, it says solve for H. So the only ones I see with an A and an H that are left are this one up here and this one down here. But remember, we said that that sounds more like B times H, which is base times height. That sounds more like a rectangle. And if you remember what a trapezoid looks like, it looks something like this. So it has 2 bases, and it has a height. And so therefore, this one up here at the top must be our area of a trapezoid. Area equals 1/2 height times base 1 plus base 2. Now, tomorrow you guys are going to go back and you guys are going to solve all of these for individual variables, but for today we're just kind of matching them up so that you guys are aware of which one's which. Numbers 9 and 10, again, we'll solve those tomorrow. Don't worry about those right now. So let's skip down to here, some of these word problems. We're going to do 3 of them together, and then I want you guys to try the last 2 on your own tomorrow during class. So let's look at number 11. So I'll skip a line and we'll do 11. It says, a public park is in the shape of a triangle. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to start drawing some stuff. So down here next to number 11, let me fold this so that you guys can see a better angle of it. It says a public park is in the shape of a triangle. So I'm going to draw a triangle. The side of the park that forms the base of the triangle is 200 yards. So the side of the park that forms the base. So the base is always at the bottom of the right angle because we could only find areas of triangles that have right angles. So this is 200 yards. It says long. Oh, I'm sorry. That's not supposed to be capitalized. 200 yards long. And the area of the park is 750 yards squared. Area equals 750, that's 7,500, my bad. 7,500 yards squared. That's what the area is. It says, what is the length of the side of the park that forms the height of the triangle? So we're looking for this. We're looking for the height. We don't know what that is. Well, you might remember off the top of your head what the area of a triangle is, but you might not. So if we look up above, we just wrote down all these formulas, and one of them was the area of a triangle. So area equals 1/2 base times height. So let's write that down here. Area equals 1/2 base times height. And this is why we're doing exactly what we're doing. You might be wondering, why do we keep solving all of these equations for random variables? And the answer is because here we know the area and we know the base, but we don't know the height. So I want to solve this equation for height, or get height all by itself. So I see that there's a 1/2 in front of it, and I see that there's a b in front of it. So I'm going to solve this equation for h by dividing by 1/2 and b. 1/2 b. So over here I have multiplicative inverses. These will cancel out to 1. And I get h equals a divided by 1/2 b. And when I plug everything in, I know that my area is 7,500. I know that yards squared. And I know that my base is 200 yards. So for my height, I have 7,500 yards squared on the top, and half of 200 is 100 yards. So when I divide 7,500 by 100, I can just cancel out some of these zeros because they'll divide away, and I get that the height is 75 yards. So we just did number 11 together. So again, it was helpful for me to draw a picture, so I suggest drawing a picture as well in your notes. It was in the shape of a triangle, that's why we have the triangle here. The side of the park that forms the base is 200. We know that the area is 7,500. Alright, and we are trying to find the length of the height. So we went ahead and did that. We solved for h in our equation, and we got the length of the height. We're just going to set up the next two really quick, but you guys are going to do them in your own, and then I'll expect you to do 14 and 15 completely on your own when we get back to class. So number 12 says a rectangle, has a perimeter of 84 centimeters and a length of 35 centimeters. So perimeter equals 84 centimeters, length equals 35 centimeters. It says, what is the width? So width equals question mark. Well, again, if I look up here, we came up with all these formulas earlier. I'm looking for perimeter of a rectangle. So here I see perimeter of a rectangle. P equals 2W plus 2L. So I'm going to write that down. P equals 2W plus 2L. And I want to know what W is. So I'm going to say solve for W. And once you solve for W, you'll be able to plug in what L equals, you'll be able to plug in what P equals, and you'll be able to solve for what W equals. But I'm going to let you do that tomorrow. And then the last one we're going to go over today together is number 13. So number 13 says, a vehicle travels on a highway at a rate, that's R, of 65 miles per hour. How long does it take the vehicle to travel 25 miles? So 25 miles is a distance. And we're wondering how long, that's a time, so we don't know the time. So this is a distance formula. And if we're looking for distance formula, again, one more time, I'm going to come back up here and I'm going to look for distance formula, and I see D equals RT. So I come back down here and I'm going to say D equals RT. I want to know what T is, so I'm going to say solve for T. And tomorrow I'm going to let you guys solve for T, plug in what D equals, plug in what R equals, and you guys will be able to find out what time it takes. All right, that's it for today. Make sure you have all these notes in your notebook, and we will see you tomorrow.